Let me paint you a picture. You're a 5'4", 5'3" and a half, brown, morena, Filipina, and your whole life you've been watching pageants. You would stay up late until 12 midnight, 11 p.m., whatever the time is, when a new queen is crowned. And you've done this for the next decade and, okay, let's be honest, 2 decades. And you grew up looking at these women as queens, role models. These are the successful women in your eyes, and these are the women who can make an impact. But the moment you get to your 16th, 18th birthday, you realize you are nothing like them. I was nothing like them. And so I was happy. I was happy and content watching from the sidelines and watching their Q&As and practicing how I would answer it if I ever had the chance. But I knew in my heart that it was a dream that was never gonna happen. It was the height, it was the way I looked, it was just how things are. Now something happened in 2021. We were all in lockdown, life was at a standstill, and like a lot of you guys probably, I was doom scrolling on Facebook. Do you still use Facebook? I don't know. That makes me nervous. I was on Facebook and I saw Miss Universe post an application poster, and they said at the bottom of the poster, no more height requirement. And my heart started pumping so loudly. I was like, this is my chance. This is everything I've ever prepared for. If I could prepare is the word, I don't know, but this is everything I've ever dreamed of. I wanted to be on that stage. I wanted to have a sash. I wanted to wear heels, and I wanted to show the world, the universe rather, what I could do. And so without hesitation, without thinking, without training, I decided to collate all of my photos, not professionally done, by the way, all the photos, the best photos I had, I thought. I filled out an application form, I got my documents, my birth certificate, and I sent it. I didn't hear from them for the next 2 months until one day I got an email asking me to meet them over Zoom, obviously. And long story short, the next day, I found myself in the top 100 candidates. The rest was history. This was the time when it was unheard of to see somebody at 5'3" and a half join a pageant like Miss Universe. When people talked about me in the comment section, a lot of people would say my face was too round and that maybe I could chop off my cheeks a little bit so I'd be quote unquote hugis bigas, like a little rice whatever, bigas. What's that in English? I don't know. But anyway, I heard a lot of things said about me. And it was odd. Even though I've been a vlogger for a while, I've had this experience before. You've probably experienced this before. You've heard people talk about you, your body, your face, your color. You've heard it. It's a universal experience, right? Who here has heard other people talk about them and their bodies? Can I get a raise of hands? It's so common. But what I didn't realize that experiencing that on a public stage and having that treated as normal, that's just the way things are, I didn't realize how much that would affect me. So today, I don't want to talk about just beauty pageants. I want to talk about body image. I want to talk about body image and learning to heal your body image after something like that. And I want to talk about it using a process that I feel like we all know too well, which is the 5 stages of grief. You've been through that, right? I can hear mga nasasaktan in the background. The first is, what's the first one? Denial, yes, exactly. The first one is denial, and then you move on to anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, and then finally we reach acceptance. And learning to love my body again after joining my dream pageant, after achieving one of my biggest life goals, it was like going through the 5 stages of grief. We started with denial. The first one was, how could I possibly feel anything but happiness? I became a beauty queen. How dare I complain about it? Why would I complain about my height or my weight or anything when I've become a beauty queen? This is it. And didn't I always tell myself that once I achieve that goal, I'd always be happy? That life would be perfect. That wasn't the case, obviously. And that denial started growing in me, and I started asking myself if it was even acceptable that people were discussing my body as if I was not a person. When people discussed my thighs as if they weren't this essential part of me, or when people talked about my face and the surgeries I could probably go under, as if this wasn't the face that faced the first 26 years of my life. Denial turned into anger once it started sinking in that this was unacceptable. How dare you talk about me like this? I'm human. I have a whole personality. I have a whole life. Why would you talk to me? Why would you talk about me like this? And then I started going back. I started going back to the interviews, the interactions with other people, and I realized how normalized it's become. When I talk to other people, why do they do this? Why would they say this about us? Why would they say this about candidates? And the answer was always, well, that's just how things are. That's how we win. That's how we've become a powerhouse in pageantry. But why is being a powerhouse in pageantry at the detriment of Filipino women who only ever want to dream? Anger started simmering, until I got to a point where I started asking myself, is this even something I identify with at all? Started bargaining. Am I even a beauty queen? Because I've only done it once. I've only experienced it once, and obviously I'm not taking it well. I'm not taking criticisms well. I'm not as graceful as my other peers who have been able to transform those criticisms and have become better. I'm not like that. So am I even a beauty queen at all? Is that a title I deserve? Is that something that I want to be? That question kept popping up, and this was a struggle because I kept getting introduced at events as Miss Universe Philippines San Juan. Yes, we're in San Juan, right? Are we all San Juaneños here? I kept getting introduced as Miss Universe Philippines San Juan 2021, and it was a struggle because I didn't know if that was still true. Am I truly as beautiful as beauty queens are supposed to be? And at this point, things are starting to change as well for me. The strict diet was not there. Actually, there was never even a diet. There was stress. There was a lot of activities here and there, and so I had lost a lot of weight, which was unsustainable, by the way. It was completely unsustainable for me to be that tiny. I was so tiny, and so when I started gaining my weight back, I also started bargaining with my identity. Is the dream that I've achieved something that I still deserve? Is the title still something that I can own for myself? Because now, that identity, which used to be attached to my integrity, to my perseverance, to my relentless pursuit of this passion, now that identity has become attached to the body that I see in the mirror, and I see it growing and I see it changing, and I see how I don't fit in the designer's clothes anymore. When I go to events and I want to borrow a gown, I don't fit anymore. What does that make me? Am I no longer that girl? And it was difficult. Like, from the outside in, when I saw other people going through this before, and when I would hear this story, I thought, yeah, we all deal with that. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. You became a beauty queen and now you're sad. But on a personal level, I realized it had nothing to do with that title. It had nothing to do with that industry even. But it had everything to do with how I saw myself and the value that I put on myself. After that, life happened. I was diagnosed with PCOS, and then I got diagnosed with depression. And I'm sure you guys know what that can look like, and it looks different on different people, but to me, it was a lot of bed rotting. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to go to work, to events. Part of my job is to show up and look pretty, unfortunately. And I just could not do that. It was impossible for me. I was struggling with other issues in my life relating to my relationship. I questioned my self-worth, and I wondered what was the point of it all? What was the point of it all? And I had to go back and look at previous videos from when I was in Miss Universe, and there was a sparkle in my eye that I couldn't recognize anymore. It seemed like I was looking at a different person, because before the aftermath of pageantry, I was just a girl who was happy to be there. I was just happy to stand up there and be myself, because I didn't see anybody who looked like me before. I was just happy to be there, and I wondered, while I was depressed, what happened to her? How was it possible that somebody who was full of life and full of passion and had a lot of heart and a fight in her, how could she have lost that spark by achieving her dream? It did not make sense to me. And so I sought help. I leaned on my friends. I leaned on my family again. I went home and I decided to start over. When you're at a rock bottom, you feel like you have nothing to lose, right? And so I started completely detaching myself from this label that I thought held so much meaning. Beauty queen. What does that even mean? What do we even care? And I started going back to what really mattered, and that was who I was. And that was just me, Ayin, trying, girl, big dreams, ambitions, but also sometimes she just wants to exist. And the road to acceptance was not that easy still, but the road to acceptance it had a lot of taking a step back, realizing and detaching from that notion that you had to be somebody, that you had to look a certain way, and that you had to show up a certain way. And I realized that by letting go of what I thought it meant to be a beauty queen, I could just be myself. And that was the most freeing thing of all. When I was younger, one of the things that I regret the most was quitting swimming, because I got so dark that people were calling me names in school. This year, I went back to swimming under the sun from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and just getting firmer and firmer tan lines. And I was just excited to not care about what that would look like, and to be able to look and hear these criticisms and not really take it in anymore. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's been a work in progress, and acceptance at this point, now that I'm talking to you guys, is still a work in progress. It's something that I am learning and forging for myself. Acceptance looks a lot like showing up on video and not having to edit the angle because I didn't like what I looked like and I was so scared of what people would say. It was doing my job. I am a TikToker after all. Doing my job and allowing the search bar to say Ayin Bernos buntis or Ayin Bernos pregnant, and letting people have a go at it and just accepting that this is not about me. What people say about me, these are things in passing, but who I am who I am on the inside and who I will be has nothing to do with perception, with others' perception of me, and I can continue to craft that identity, and I'm happy to. I'm excited to again. And if anything, now that I'm looking back at that journey post-pageantry, I realized that being on stage and having a sash and wearing heels and maybe even getting a crown is not about fitting into a mold that has been so strictly dictated by the industry that we have. Having a sash and wearing those heels and standing up on that stage can also mean defining exactly the kind of beautiful you want to be, representing the people that you care about, representing the children who you know see themselves in you. And even though I might never be Miss Universe, I don't plan on going back to pageantry. And even though it's been a long time since Miss Universe Philippines, I'm still very proud that we are able, not just me, you are able to cultivate a crown of your own, a crown that has impact, a crown that you can continuously redefine over and over and over again throughout your life. And it's something that you can always fight for, and it's something that you should always fight for. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys with your own crowns one day.